What's up YouTube, Dar here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a Sky Striker profile. That's right, I think Sky Striker is going to be one of those competitive decks for this format. For the fact of the matter is, it can be built as either a control style or a breaker style. Now I've gone for a bit of a middle ground with this one. You'll see this as I go through it, that I try to utilize more cards that won't trigger any K9s whatsoever. I mean, you're not going to use cards in the hand or the graveyard, apart from Ray, and usually you're going to be using Ray when you absolutely have to. So it's one of the ones that you need to keep in mind. And then you still got cards in the main deck that allow you to kind of interact with the yummy strategies, whether it be to break their field, whether it be to turn their field off, or whether it just to be make sure that you mitigate everything they can get involved with. When you're looking at some of the yummy cards, some of their stuff does like to target. The exact same thing with Arthelion and the Draco Tales. So trying to combat those particular strategies is something that I've really tried to focus on with this particular build. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. Miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to take you through the main deck, the extra deck, and I'll even take you through the side deck as well, so you have a bit of an idea of what this deck will look like going forward. So, diving headfirst into the profile, you start off with one of your very few monsters, and we're going to be starting off with free Sky Striker Ace Ray. Now, obviously, Ray is the core component of the entire deck. Now, there was a question that I did get asked in regards to like Sky Strikers in general. They were like, how does a deck like this play when they only play 4 monsters? And what you've really got to take into account is technically, yes, it only plays 4 monsters that are going to utilize your engines, being the 3 Rays and the 1 Rose. Some builds do play 2 Rose. That is completely up to you on that preference. But you also then need to take into account that you have Engage, which can lead you into a card that will get you to particularly either Ray directly, but it can also get you into drones. It can get you into the field spell. If you destroy the field spell, you'll be able to work your way into Ray. And then on top of that, you also have Linkage, which is a way of being able to get your extra deck a little bit more accessible and still starts to get your monsters rotating as you need to. So that's pretty much it for the monsters of the Sky Strikers. I'll take you through the other monsters at the end of the video. We only play one more monster and I'll explain its usage when we get to it. The other cards we are playing, of course, will be free Sky Striker Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. This card is just absolutely insane. The fact it got brought back to free is mental, and what you're trying to do with this deck is you're trying to utilize loads of spells. So when we go through this list, you'll see, just trying to get the mass off the top of my head, we play 34, I believe, spells in the entire main deck, which is really what you're aiming to do. You want to be able to utilize your Pot of Greed with Engage as much as you possibly can. If you are able to go through all engages in one turn, you can actually rotate through Engage and make sure you use it 4 times, which is insane. Because the idea is you would activate the first one, you've got Kagari that can bring it back, that's your second one, you've got direct access to it from the Sky Striker Ace 0, so you've got loads of more consistent ways to get to it, and the more ways of being able to access it and rotate it around is just insane. Which is why we are playing so many spells, because you want to make sure that every spell you're using is either going to protect you, it's going to set you out of another draw, or it's going to be able to put you in a position where you're going to be able to disrupt your opponent and then get advantage from the graveyard as well. The other 3 for the Sky Striker cards is going to be free Widow Anchor. Now, this is a bit of an odd one, and what I mean by that is it's really good in the matchup for the Draco Tales, because what you're doing is usually they'll use Arthelion as Chain Link 1, then they'll use the 2 Chain Links in the graveyard to set their cards. If you're able to activate a Widow Anchor, you're basically trying to negate the Arthelion, so it doesn't get to add back those resources or return cards from the field to the hand. So that's where you're going to get the benefit of something like that. In the Yummy matchup, it's a little bit more awkward, and what I mean by that is you need to be making sure you're activating Widow Anchor after your opponent's already chained said effect, whether that be chaining the effect of your Snatchy or chaining the effect of the Synchros. Keep in mind that the Synchros actually go back as costs, so they can actually dodge this no matter which way you do it. So it's one of them ones that with the Synchros you probably don't want to be doing it, to be completely honest with you, because if you do it on the Synchro, they'll just, so if that Synchro activates its effect and then they chain the effect as well, it's just not really going to go anywhere. So that being said, Arthelion for the Draco Tales, and then you can also utilize it on Azuna, because Azuna will send Lupus from deck to grave, and then Lupus can come back to the field and then go from there. But usually what you're trying to do is you're trying not to even trigger the K9 cards at all. When you're then looking at stuff like Holly Sue, you can negate the Holly Sue. When you're trying to look at cards like the Rock, you can totally negate the Rock of the Vanquisher, you can negate the Borga. Sometimes you might want to steal them to climb up your link plays and make sure your opponent doesn't have access to that monster to tag it out. It's just something you do need to be a little bit careful of, because of course with the Vanquish Soul strategy they do have the ability to tag monsters out. The other 3 of what we play is free Sky Striker Mobilize Linkage. Quite like all the other Sky Striker cards, or most of the Sky Striker cards, this is not a hard once per turn, so you can utilize it as many times as you have no monsters in the extra monster zone, and a card that you can send. So it's a really, really kind of cool card. It does help you facilitate your OTK plays with this deck. It is a little bit trickier to play OTKs with this particular deck, which is why most times than not, people will be utilizing Upstart Goblin, because they're like, I don't really mind if I give you life points. If the new time rules come into play, then heck, Upstart Goblin is probably something that's even more worthwhile. It's just one of the ones that in the early stages of the game, when you're going into like game 1 or even game 2, you don't really want to be giving your opponent an extra 3,000 life points. Yes, it's great because it will burn through your deck. It gives you more spells in the graveyard. And what I'm doing, or what I'm playing in its place right now, is I'm playing the Foolish Burial of Goods into the Metal Flows Fusion package. And the reason for that is you activate Foolish Burial of Goods. Not only can it send one of your other spells, but it can also send you your Metal Flows Fusion, which means you've got 2 spells in your graveyard already. Activate 1 more spell, and then your Engage and all of your other strikers are all online for their secondary effects, whether it be for a draw, whether it be for a steal, whether it be from a banish from the graveyard and then take. So just adding fuel to the fire. And then we're on to of the more recent one, Lemnus Gate. This card is one of the ways to help them out untargetable monsters. Because it doesn't target to return is really important. It lets you recycle all of your materials back in. So it lets you recycle all of your Sky Striker spells and all of your extra deck. But you only can do it in multiples of 3. Well, you can do it in less than multiples of 3, but to get the return from the field to the hand, you need to be doing it in multiples of 3. So it's really, really important to try and do it that way and kind of like keep that in mind of the numbers that you're playing around with. But once you do get to resolve this card, it can be really, really important. And it's great that it helps you out particular tower-esque cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. The only downside of this particular is it can't out tower. So against stuff like a Lunar Lights, you need to get a monster that is stronger than that Lunar Light monster, which more times than not, by the time you get to it, the chances are they're going to destroy your entire monster, so you have to work a little bit harder to do so. The only way you can do that is with Linkage, and you need to make your monster stronger and stronger as you go. So you're probably looking at like Kagari with loads of spells in the graveyard, activate Linkage, giving it 1,000 additional attack, because you've got a light and dark in the grave, and then trying to push that way. Great Magnus for the Super Commons can be a big pain in the backside. So they are cards you need to be considerate of, which is why I play a card in the side deck that I'll show you a little bit later on. But you do need to respect towers with this particular deck. The other 12 we're playing is 2 Shark Cannon. Like, it's probably more so for the Mitsurugi Raizel matchup, because being able to kind of like DD Crow-esque any monster from the graveyard with Shark Cannon can be really important, but it can be quite good in the Yummy matchup as well when they're trying to bring back cards from the grave. It can be quite good with the Draco Tails, because the Draco Tails will allow you to remove the cards they're trying to add back to the hand, and you're burning away their resource. It can also be quite good with some of the Vanquish Soul and the Canines, because you get to hit the Lupus, banish the Lupus, and then kind of move on from there. For the rest of the Sky Striker spells, you're only really going to need to be playing 1 copies of each of them. Some you can bump up to 2 depending on the environment and your playstyle. So we're going to be playing the 1 Area 0. So this is a direct way to be able to target a card on your field. So if your opponent does give you a Kaiju, which is one of the biggest issues with a Sky Striker deck. Keep in mind, I didn't mention as well, but the Lemnus Gate is one of the only Sky Striker spells that don't need you to have a monster in the main, like not to have a monster in the main monster zone. So that's actually really important, because it means you can use it if you've stolen one of your opponent's monsters, and it still gives you that ability to return cards. The field spell gives you that ability to destroy a card. Maybe sometimes, more times than not, your Metal Flows Fusion, because you're probably always going to open it up. But you get to target a card on the field, you escalate the top 3 cards of your deck, you add a Sky Striker card, and then you destroy the card that you targeted. If you don't reveal a Sky Striker card, you don't destroy a card, but more times than not, when you see the amount of Sky Striker cards we're playing, you should be able to resolve it correctly. On top of that as well, when you have a card like Multi-Roll, you get to target your airspace area 0, destroy it, and then get raid directly from the deck, and that's just going to allow you to facilitate your plays a little bit more. And then you're basically saying to your opponent, you can't respond to my spell activation, so no longer will you be able to ash me. Then got the 1 Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones. You should be knowing this a little bit more commonly now, because people are playing it in Yummies with Engages, but this is another one of them cards to give you an additional body on the field, or of course work your way up into your link plays. Then we've got the 1 Sky Striker Maneuver Afterburners and the 1 Sky Striker Maneuver Jamming Waves. Now both of these are like the reverses of each other. So the Afterburners destroys a monster in the main monster zone, and then if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you get to destroy a spell or trap. And then Jamming Waves is the other way around, so it lets you destroy a spell or trap, and if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you get to destroy a monster in the main monster zone, so it gives you a bit of a reversal on that sense. Now the generic spells that we're going to be playing, we are on 3 Tribal Tactics Thrust. Now, the benefit of something like this, maybe not so much if you're going first, your opponent doesn't put a monster on the field. And again, when we're trying not to play into the Canines, more times than not, you're only going to be able to activate this to get you direct access to engage turn 0 is if you're up against the Draco Tails. So a card that I'm considering putting in the main deck is Black Goat That Laughs. I did consider some of the other normal trap cards, but I felt that Black Goat That Laughs was just such an incredibly powerful card that the only other one that I'd want to consider would be a Dominus Impulse, just because I really, really like the card and how effective it is in this current format. But I feel that the Black Goat That Laughs is probably the more common one because it has an on-field effect and then a graveyard effect, so it gives you the protection for your next turn as well. Not to mention, this gets you direct access to your engage. So if you are going second and your opponent is putting a monster on their field, you go, cool, Frost, get engage. There are some other targets I'm about to show you that you can also get off the back of the Frost, which is why this card is so, so good. But like I've said, more times than not, you'll get the most benefits out of a card like this if you are playing into a K9. But because pretty much nothing here really does play into a K9, you got to be a little bit more careful that you're not going to be triggering them. I also like to main deck Free Salesman. Now, you don't have to play this card at all. This is probably a little bit more of a layover from the previous format, but I really liked it because it put in a lot of work for me. So I activate Salesman, I call Droll and Lockbird, great success. I'm not using Droll. This is then going to allow me to keep making all my plays. It puts a spell in the graveyard that I need, and I'm able to build on it. The other benefit is going second. If my opponent has a card on the field, something like a Detonator, I call Salesman, call Detonator, they won't be able to use it as we move on. The same can be said about cards like Arfleon, if I'm worried that my opponent's going to use Arfleon to return my cards, Glamel if I feel that they're going to destroy cards, C104, Nash Knight, pretty much anything else, even a K9 Ripper. Being able to call cards like that could be really, really helpful for you. And then you call hand traps that your opponent can't chain with. So if you feel that you're going to lose to an Ash Blossom, you call Ash Blossom. Very specific, that one. More times than not, you call in Droll and Lockbird. Don't call Perulia or Fluolos or any of the Mole Chummies because you're okay, call Chain, and then the effect is already rolling. You can call Ghost Spells, you can call Nibiru's. It really does help you kind of play around those particular turns. And the other thing about it is your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of cards with the same name. So I'm pretty sure this is one of those occurrences where it affects the player, not the card. So if a card is unaffected, you're affecting the player. I could be wrong on that one, so don't quote me on it. I haven't actually used this to call a Liga Dancer yet, but if it can call a Liga Dancer, great. It's a little bit more consistent to work my way up into a stronger monster to deal with said Liga Dancer. Then the other cards that I'm maining 2 Book of Eclipse. You don't have to play this in the main deck. You can probably side it if you wanted to. This can open up some space for some of the side deck cards when I go through them that you're like, ooh, that's probably a little bit better for me. But what I liked about this is it gives you the ability, so draw phase, activate Book of Eclipse, flip all your opponent's monsters face down. Those could be monsters that are going to interact with you or trying to negate some of your cards. And you're like, great, I can protect and play through it. The only matchup is not going to be that great in this current format will, of course, be Dracotales because they can fuse with their face downs anyway. But still being able to Book of Eclipse your opponent's yummies. If you do end up going first, this isn't a worse card to be set in as well. And what I do like about this particular deck is this one isn't designed to purely only go second and beat breakers, because you don't see that we're not maining Lightning Storms, Raigekis, and anything like that. We're playing the odd field breakers in the form of like Dusters, Dark Rule, No Mores, but they're more of like one-off cards. I'll search for Frost if I need them. So I'm actually quite comfortable going first. The other benefit of something like Book of Eclipse is you're playing all Link monsters. So at no point will Book of Eclipse really, really hurt you, because what you're trying to do there is you'd activate Book of Eclipse, you'd be chaining Ray, or you'd use Ray, get into a Link monster, activate Book of Eclipse, it can't flip your Link monster face down, and you're in good success. It's also really good against the Yummies, because once they put a monster on the field, you can Book of Eclipse it, put it face down, and then unless they have the particular extender that they need off the back of Cupsy, they're not able to start to climb their plays into the rest of everything they need to. So it's a really good card for going first or going second for this particular format, and I felt that, again, with it being a spell card that sets up your count in the graveyard, it's going to be even more effective for you when you are trying to be as competitive as possible with this particular deck. You can consider to play it free if you wanted to, because like I said, it's really good for going, like setting a card, passing, flip Book of Eclipse, it buys you another turn, draw phase, activate another Book of Eclipse, you get another turn to go. It can be very, very good for you, but it really does come down to your preference. Then, as previously mentioned, I am playing 2 Foolish Burial Goods and the 1 Metalf Fusion engine. Now, what I like about this one is the pure fact that, again, as mentioned, you activate Foolish Burial Goods, you send your Metalf Fusion, you've got 2 spells in the graveyard, you put a third spell in there, you activate Engage, you draw a card, you search a card, you put another spell in the grave, you go Kagari, add back to Engage, activate again, search a card, draw a card, and then once you've done everything you need to and you've already got 3 spells in the graveyard without the Metalf Fusion, you can use Metalf Fusion effect, put it back to the deck, draw another card. Yes, of course, this deck plays heavy into draw, which is why you do consider Salesman, but it's just one of them ones that you're trying to get as much drawn advantage as possible. Then the other one of power play spells, I've got the 1 Triple Tactic Talents, I've got the 1 Dark Rule No More, just for those odd chances that if I am against a Yummy matchup and they do utilize one of their effects, I go, okay, cool, Frost, get me a Dark Rule No More, and then put them in a position where they need to start using all their Yummy effects before I've started to kind of put more pressure on the field. And then once they do that, I go, cool, Dark Rule no more. And then with stuff like Sky Striker Ace 0, and then with Kagari's, Shizuku's, Hayate's, you've got ways to pick that field apart and making sure that they don't have as much resource to fall back on as possible. One Harpy's Feather Duster, you don't have to main it, you can side it, and that's probably where Black Goat that last can come into the play. It's just another one of the ones that if I go second, I can thrust into it, and I'm in a good position to deal with spells and traps, especially when you're looking at the Dracutail strategy, and their Dracutail Flame is a way that can negate a spell. Then got one Reinforce of the Army, another way to get to your Ray, one Call by the Grave. And then the last card I'm playing that I'm not completely set on, but it's one of the ones that will trigger Canines, and it's one of the ones that you might not want to use against Canines, but if you do, they're going to give you a Zuna. If it's their turn, they can give you a Zuna, they can give you Jockle, they can give you Lantern as well. So they can give you like 3 draws, and then if you're also up against the Vanquish Soul version, you can get a Jiaolong, you can get a Borgar, you can get a Holy Sue, and that is of course Perulia. Now, you could play Fluilos if you wanted to. I'm kind of leaning a little bit more to Perulia than Fluilos as a one-off kind of option. Like, if I have to choose one of them, what card am I going for? And I've kind of decided to go with this. The deck does make it a 41-card deck. If you don't want to play this, you can swap these out for 3 more spells, and then you are pretty much playing a full-on 37 spell card deck, which is crazy to think about. But it's just another one of the ones that lets you play around with it a little bit more. It's one of the ones that gives you a guarantee, or like a 90% guarantee for the pure fact that your opponent's always going to summon a monster from the hand, being the normal summon. But it's one of them risk and rewards. If you want to go for a Fluilos, by all means, please do so. Yeah, it's just something that I'm testing out with the Perulia to see if I like it as that option. Because I didn't want this deck to be a full breaker, but then I also didn't want it to be like no hand traps and then my opponent goes off and does everything they need to do. So that's it for the entire main deck. I'm now going to show you the extra deck, and then I'll show you the side deck. So, for the extra deck, we are on 2 of the brand new Sky Striker Ace 0. Love this card. Such a custom card for the deck. Really, really awesome. So, for those of you unfamiliar with this, it does require 2 Sky Striker Ace monsters. You can only special summon it once per turn this way, and it can't be used as link material, which is really painful, because in an ideal world, you'd make this a linkage and then go, cool, turn this in Kagari. After already searching off an engage, you'd go engage, search, and then go Kagari. But I suppose it had to have a downside to balance it back out. You can only use one of the effects per turn as well, which is kind of a bit of a blessing and a curse. So you can either search out a Sky Striker card, or you can tribute off to special summon a Ray and a Rose from the hand. I believe it's hand, field, or deck. Hand or deck. So it's deck or graveyard. Tribute this card, special summon a Sky Striker Ace Ray and a Sky Striker Ace Rose from the deck and or graveyard. So if your Rose is in the hand or your Rose is banished, it sucks. But you then get to non-target destroy a card in the field. You can use each effect once per turn, but the idea is it's like a disruptor, but it's also a way to search. So if you're using this in your combo going first, you search. If you want to use it during your opponent's turn, you tribute off, you bring out a row and a raise and a raise? A Rose and a Ray. There we go, get there eventually. And then you get to destroy a card in the field. And then you have Ray to tag out. You've then got the ability to utilize your way into Zeke and everything else in between. 2 Kagari, I know some builds do play free. I have no issue playing free if you wanted to. I kind of tried to shave down some of the cards for the last 4 cards I'm going to show you in this extra deck. The other options that you can consider is I do like the idea of Ultimate Slayer right now in this format. It's okay against Ryzeals and Mitsurugis, but I feel that they're kind of being edged out a little bit. It's not so great against Malice, but again, I also feel Malice is slightly being edged out a little bit. Like, don't think that they don't exist, because if you disrespect those decks, they will come back and bite you in the backside. But when you're looking at like Yummies, if you're able to activate Ultimate Slayer and then you're either trying to get rid of the Herald of the Art Light, so you're able to negate it by sending Malong, and then Malong can then negate another card on the field, or you're going to be sending a Link, which will be like a Ferrogy, which will then send the Link 5 Tri-Brigade, and then Link 5 Tri-Brigade, oh sorry, not Ferrogy, you'd send the Link 5 Tri-Brigade, send the Guru, get you a draw. So there are a couple of different options that you can think about with that one, but that's kind of where I wanted these other 4 cards as a variety option than having to play free Kagari. Then got 2 Shizuku. I think 2 is pretty much all you really need. And then 2 Hayate. Like, I actually not rely massively, but I'm quite happy with 2 Hayate. You can play out 1, but I also quite like to utilize the ability of the Lemnus gate, and that's when you're going to get the most advantage from it all as well, because that's kind of where you're going to be able to recycle your extra deck monsters, and then they're going to put them back into rotation, which means you don't need to rely on free Sky Striker Ace Rays as much. The 1 Kana, the only one that doesn't have an alt art, so I really hope that this gets an alt art eventually. The 1 Azalea, the 1 Zeke, And then the 4 Flex-esque cards, but you're probably still going to utilize them the way they are. You've got the 1 SP Little Knight, the 1 Dart the Dart Charmer, the 1 Access Code Talker, and then the 1 Typhon. Now, you could sub some of these cards out if you wish, because there will be times with Linkage you'll lock yourself into Sky Strikers. These 4 cards would then become, if you wanted to go down that route, you'd probably go for like an Agigator, you'd probably go for a Malong, you'd go for a Garura, and then you'd probably go for the Link 5 Tri-Brigade, because then you're getting the benefit of pretty much everything you need. That is entirely up to you on that one. I've kind of decided to go down this particular route. So that's it for the entire main deck and the extra deck. Now to show you the side deck. So for the side deck, we've got triple Droll and Lockbird. I feel, again, if you disrespect decks right now that want to do a lot of searching, Droll can still be a giant pain in the backside for the rogue matchups. It can also be kind of good in some meta matchups, but you do need to be a little bit careful on it. So I feel that it's one of the ones you need to respect it. I've got the 1 Surgical Striker Hamp. This is basically your Kaiju. The only real reason I've got it in here is because I want to respect the tower decks running around. Like, if I go to a local environment and they've got a Super Quant deck, I need to respect it to be able to deal with the Great Magnus. I'm not, like, the way the deck is built, I'm not really interacting with my opponent that much. I'm not interacting with them to stop them getting to their towers. More times than not, they're going to successfully get access to their towers, which is where this version of the deck kind of falters a little bit in comparison to a version that wants to play hand traps. So you need to be a little bit careful when you're thinking about it that way, and that's why you might want to adapt it depending on the environment you're going to. Now, the next cards I'm going to show you are either or. You won't play both of these. I just wanted to show you that you're either going to be playing 2 Retaliating Sea or 2 Contact Sea. So your Retaliating Sea is your counter to stuff like the Draco Tales. So if your environment is going to be very heavy on the Draco Tales, you're going to want to go with the Retaliating Sea. The reason that this is a counter to the Draco Tales is that during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell card that includes an effect that special summons a monster, which is both Ketu and, of course, the Rahu Dragon Tail, you get to special summon this card from the hand. If summoned this way, while it is face up on the field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So the benefit of something like that is that the Draco Tales have to go to the graveyard to get their set effects. Yes, of course, they might be able to trigger the Arthleon to return it because they'll use a card in the hand, but straight away they've already burnt through resource from the deck. So if they would go activate Rahu Dragon Tail and you go, cool, chain Retaliating Sea. Retaliating Sea summons to the side of the field. They resolve the Rahu Dragon Tail, banishing the 1 card from the hand and the 1 card from the deck, or multiple from the hand if they choose to go down that route. The best thing they could do would then be the Arthleon. The Arthleon would have used 1, if not 2 cards from the hand, and then it kind of forces the Arthleon to return the Retaliating Sea. By that point, they've already burnt 2 Draco Tales or a Draco Tail plus 1 other. The downside of the Contact Sea is it does go to your field. So when your opponent activates a spell card that includes the effect, you special summon this card from your hand. So it is one of the ones that you're going to be playing a bit of risk and reward for, because it's one of the ones that you're trying to shut down your opponent's entire plays, and then you need to get rid of it. So that's when you need to be able to use Linkage, the Field Zone, even utilize multi-roll, because you need to clear it off. It's risk and reward in that particular scenario, which is why you might consider not playing this. But the other cards you can play in place of it would be stuff like your different dimension grounds and other cards that will do pretty much the same effect. Then you've got Contact Sea. So when your opponent normals or specials or monster, except during damage state, you get to special on this card from the hand to your opponent's field. In defense position, this card's controller cannot fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link unless they use this card as material. Now this is going to be good against the Canine strategy, and it's also going to be good against the Yummy strategy. Now the Yummy players that are fearful of this card will play Cross Sheet, which is how they get rid of it. So it's not that big of a block out. But if you were to do it against Canines, because you have to use this, and this is a level 6, it means it's very awkward for them to go into their rank 5s. They can't get into the Rock of the Vanquisher if they are playing the Vanquish Solver route as well. So it's really kind of interesting as well to kind of give them this bit of a lock as well. And that kind of really causes them a few issues to try and break it. So it's one of the ones where this might be a little bit more effective if you're worried about this getting stuck on your field. But I would highly advise if you have a lot of Draco Tail running around, which I do believe the popularity is going to go up a little bit, you might want to consider going for this card as well. So either or, right now, I'll just show you the Contact C so you don't get overwhelmed with the amount of cards that are going to be shown here. The other card that I'm testing out as well, which could be your counteraction to Yummy on top of that, is the Gravekeeper's Inscription. Now, the benefit of this is, again, it's a normal spell card. You have to activate it at the start of main phase 1, so it's one of the ones that if you draw it afterwards, quite like Lightning Storm, it's pretty much dead until the next main phase. But the idea of this one is if I do draw it for turn, I have the ability to activate it, and then neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard, neither player can banish cards from the graveyard, and neither player can special monsters from the graveyard. Now, in the Yummy scenario, you'll probably activate it so they can't special from the graveyard, which if I'm going second and my opponent already has a Yummy field set up, I can activate this, and then straight away that will make their plays a little bit awkward because they then need to start chaining their effects to bring them back. If I'm going first, I can still activate this. It does make it a little bit awkward, but then it means the Yummies will start to play during my turn, but they still need to get the Yummies to the graveyard and they need to get their setups going for it first, which does burn away their resource a little bit more. It doesn't really hurt massively some of the other decks. Yes, of course, neither player can banish cards from the graveyard, and neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard, so that's quite a nice way to help you deal with Draco Tales. You do need to be careful with some of your card effects, but as mentioned, as I drop the card, the only real card that it really affects you on is your Ray, and if you're able to play around it and use that quite cleverly, you won't need to worry about it. It also lets you stop your opponent's Lupus as well, because it means they can't use the Lupus to come back from the grave. It can be a very, very effective card this format, especially in a deck like this that wants an additional spell in the grave. And then for the trap cards, we've got Free Solemn Judgment. You just need to be a little bit careful of like field breakers, like whether it be evenly matched, whether it be Regekis. Less so Regekis and kind of play around them, but Dusters can be quite annoying for you as well if you're trying to be defensive. So I felt like a card like Judgment will put in a lot of work. The last three of will be the Different Dimension Ground, the Black Go That Lasts, and the Evenly Matched. All three cards you'll get off of the back of your Trio Tactics Thrust. The other is if you get hand trapped in Yummy or against Yummy, you'll go into Different Dimension Ground and you take away their graveyard. If you get hand trapped in the generic matchup, you go for Black Go That Lasts, which is why I'm highly considering about trying to get that in the main deck. Whether I make the main deck 42 or not is entirely up to that route of play. And then, of course, you have Evenly Matched, just being able to add this and your opponent's already got effects. Like, I think it's a really kind of cool option that not a lot of people are thinking about and not a lot of people are respecting. That when they build their entire field, once you've baited out their Omni Negate, you activate the Frost, you get the Evenly, you activate the Evenly, and then you kind of balance the playing field because all their cards are going to get banished face down, meaning that they will have a lot harder time trying to recur some of them unless they are playing a very specific deck that lets them look at the banished face down, which most of the competitive decks aren't doing. So that can be quite useful for you. And if they're starting to chain a lot of their Dracotel cards, again, you're baiting out their activations. And when they're setting the spells for follow-up to the next turn, you go, okay, cool, thank you. Evenly matched, clear it all out, reset you, leave you with one card. And then you should, by that point, have that answer to that one card, whether that be a Lancia, sorry, not a Lancia, a Widow Anchor, or whether that be something else to help you interact. So that's pretty much it for the entire main deck and side deck. Like I said, choose between Retaliating Sea or Contact Sea, or throughout the rest of the side deck I've just shown you, choose which one you feel fits your playstyle the best. So that's it for the entire profile. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. Massive shout out to Leo, who is our local Sky Striker player. He's the one that's really helped me kind of get this deck in a shape that I'm relatively happy with. Like, I like what Sky Strikers can do. I love the brand new cards. I think they're both really great additions. And I feel that it could be one of them decks that has that balance of first, second, aggressive, defensive, control, you name it. And I think it's one that could really kind of cause a few issues in this current format if you don't know some of the new cards and just know how the deck interacts and plays itself in general. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.